Hello. Hello. Welcome. Thank you very much for coming. To the two Ronnies, how did you come up with the idea of buses?
How did you come up with the idea of buses?
I don't know.
So long ago.
No, we were writing a show called Meet the Wife, and then we wanted to. My partner, Wolf, during the war, had been in a factory, and he knew a little bit about the way people work together, and so we tried to devise a series which devolved on one person at work and one person at home, which was Reg Varney. He was the one at work who drove the bus and had terrible rows with the inspector, and when he came home, he was there with his mother, who wouldn't let him go, and his horrible brother-in-law, and his ghastly sister. So it was a theory that worked extremely well. We were able to develop it, and we wrote 60 episodes, 7 more, I don't know how many, and 3 films. And it was because that's how we thought about it.
Behind the you've got a question, and then wait till you get to me with the mic, I think it may be.
Hello there, I'm pleased to be here. I was just wondering if the cause of Arthur's operation is ever actually revealed in any of the episodes at all.
The cause of Arthur's operation, was it ever revealed? Arthur's operation. I thought it was a hernia, but it wasn't. I think it made him unable to consummate his perform as regularly as was required by
I don't know.
No, I think they kept that a secret. I think that's the answer, unless Ronnie Wilford has an answer.
I think that part of the humour is that perhaps we never really do know what the cause of the operation is, and that in itself is a joke.
Well, you leave it to your own imagination, don't you?
Yeah.
Hello. I want to ask you, was Reg Varney really as cheeky as he was in the films?
Never. No.
He was quite well mannered.
It was quite well mannered.
Yes.
Reg Varney was a very talented guy. We were very lucky to have him in the show. He was an excellent pianist. He played the piano very well. He wrote books, and he really was a marvellous guy, wasn't he?
And he painted.
Yes, that's right. He did some very good paintings. You know, people said to me, although they're top of the chocolate box, I said, well, it could be bloody worse.
And also, would it be true to say that you cast Reg when he was already quite a mature actor? So he was a 40-something trying to be the larky person. Yes, of course.
Do any of you here remember The Rag Trade, which the Ronnies wrote? You know that Miriam Carlin, who starred in that show, died only a few weeks ago, very sadly. Because Reg was in that original show, the original Rag Trade, and that's where the two Ronnies discovered him and wrote on the buses as a vehicle for him to show his talents, which he wasn't able to do completely when he was in the Rag Trade, in a supporting role.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Could you tell me how it became to pick Lavender Hill Cemetery as a location?
Lavender Hill Cemetery as a location.
Well, no, the reason was, of course, is something you remember. If the bus had been going to number 20 down the high street, you wouldn't remember. But if you say they're going to the cemetery gates, people remember it, and that's what you want to do in a show. I always remember we did in one of the films when, the first film in fact, when they objected to women driving buses and they relocated a bus. So that the girl who was driving it went right down the motorway and didn't come back to the depot for about an hour, and then a little lady came off the bus and said, I've been on this bus for 3 hours and all I wanted to go to was Tesco. Now, had she said, oh, all I want to go to is Baker Street or something, it wouldn't have meant anything. But saying Tesco meant something. And that's what you have to do when you're writing.
That's right. It's a universal sort of thing. The jokes have to be universal to everybody. I don't know whether was the cemetery gates in the film the same cemetery gates that I used in the television shows. I shouldn't think so. Just went to the cemetery gates. Well, there's cemetery gates everywhere, aren't there? So it made the comedy universal.
Anyone else?
I've got a question for Harry. I know you've done lots of television and films. I'm over here. But I met you in 1983 at Thames when I was, to cut a long story short, a guest of Annika Rice's on a TV show called CBTV. And you played the role of a security guard on that show. So what memories do you have of working with Annika and being on that show?
Well, they said I was the dopey security guard, and they gave me 1 day's work. And I stayed for 3 years, so I wasn't that dopey, was I? It was a great show to work on. It was ad lib, and two great presenters. Out of the blue. It was a job out of the blue. I mean, you go for 1 day and you stay for 3 years, so it wasn't too dopey, was I?
And was Annika as nice to you as she was to me?
Only at night. Only at night time.
Right, any more questions?
For the two Ronnies, you mentioned the rag trade, which I think was BBC. Is it true that the BBC turned down on the buses? And why was that? And how do you think it's regarded today compared to other comedies of the time?
We wrote the rag trade for the BBC, and then we wrote another show for them called another show for them, Meet the Wife, with Thora Hird and Freddie Frinton, which was a big success. And then we went to I won't give his name, I don't want to upset his relative, the guy who was in charge of the BBC at the time of comedy, and we said, we've got a new idea now about a bus, and people in the bus. Oh, we said, there's no fun in a bus, everybody takes buses, we can't have a comedy at a bus. So then we went to London Weekend and presented it to them, and they said, oh, okay, you've done some good shows, why not? And they did on the buses, and the BBC had turned it down.
Well, it was Michael Mills, he's been very kind, no longer with us, and I think you had a letter in your possession. I remember you showing it to some press people when the show was a success, from Michael Mills at one press reception, and it said, this is a very unfunny script and will never make a successful television comedy.
That's right.
Yes, he said that. So we proved him wrong. But he was a nice man. I won't say anything against Michael Mills. He's not. He was my boss for some time at the London Weekend Television, and he's no longer with us. But on this occasion, he was wrong. But he wanted his comedy to be a bit more sophisticated, I think.
To Meet the Wife with Thora Hird, Thora was a beautiful actress, and could do comedy, which is unusual these days. And so the idea of something about a bus to them was so common they didn't want to know about it. BBC don't do shows about buses, and they didn't. No, it's great.
Well, they've changed a bit since then, I know, but that was, we were going back over 40 years. It's a long time.
Don't tell me.
There you go, Rob.
Can we ask Lucy, what do you remember about working on the kids' outing?
Can't hear you. Oh.
Well, I was very excited to, have a chance to be in one of my dad's shows, and I don't know if that's what kind of bit me with the bug, wanting to perform and everything, but I was quite scared, I think. Not scared, nervous, but it was all a whole new thing. We'd been on location with Dad, and I always remembered queuing up. Often on location there's a bus used, that's where you go and sit and have your lunch. So as a child I found that very special and exciting. But doing the kids' outing was great because we just, the direction was just to scream as loudly as you can. And all these stage school children, I was just one.